I welcome everybody to the first installment of Gateway Guest, and we call this a financial and lifestyle specialist interview series. So, sincerely thank David Preston for being our guest this month.
Sure.
And you may have to speak in order to be seen, so thanks, David.
You got it.
Um,
Yeah.
and to share his insights, his time around artificial intelligence. And I've known David through my church and neighborhood since 2010. And so I'm going to share a little more background about him before we get started. So David Preston is the founder of a publishing company, Intelliverse Press, and is a leading expert in digital transformation. With over 30 years of experience in finance, supply chain, and procurement, he specializes in using technology and automation, including robotic process automation, or RPA, to modernize business operations. As director of procurement digital transformation at Honeywell, a Fortune 100 company, David has been at the forefront of strategic initiatives to improve procurement. After the emergence of ChatGPT in 2022, he shifted his focus to artificial intelligence, applying his decades of experience to understanding and leveraging its potential. So, as you know, David is the author and chief editor of AI Fundamentals, a beginner's guide, published by Intelliverse Press. And it's a book that makes complex AI concepts accessible and practical for both newcomers and professionals. And I'll share a visual of it. I believe you also saw a copy of it on the invitation, and we'll share more about how you can get a copy of your own at the end of the presentation. So here we go. This is what you'll see if you go to Amazon.
Yep. There you go.
All
And
right.
already number one in a few categories. So word is spreading fast. A few things, a few talking points before we get started. As always, what is discussed here should not be considered tax, legal, or financial advice. Always consult a professional before making important decisions, even if you used AI for your research.
Absolutely.
So
Very true.
with that, we'll get started. So again, welcome, David, and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Let's start with our first question.
sure.
How would you define artificial intelligence in the simplest terms without the technical jargon?
So I would say, in simplest terms, the way I would define the artificial intelligence is really it's a machine mimicking human intelligence, the way we think, right? It's not actually thinking the way we think, right? It's in ones and zeros, and it's made of computer chips and things like that. But it is trying to mimic it, and it's getting better. If you were to compare what it was like when we first started out with ChatGPT back 3, 4 years ago, it is becoming quite a bit more intuitive and being able to interact with us in ways that I think are more intuitive, more a way to draw out more of our productivity and other types of things. One of the things I like to bring up in the book is that even though it can be a little intimidating about using AI or how that might work with a computer, I think one of the things that is a key activity, and of course I'm talking to some folks on the line that may know a lot about car engines, right? But if you just because you may not know how a combustion engine works, doesn't mean you can't get into your Buick and drive it down the street, right? It's similar to that you don't need a computer science degree or some fangled training to utilize AI. In fact, what we'll find is AI is almost all around us, and we're using it every day in many instances, and maybe not even understanding or knowing the science behind it, and it can be there to help enrich and strengthen our lives as we go. So that would be one of the ways I'd talk about AI today.
Excellent. Thank you. So, it really is. It's still man-made, right? And we
Yeah,
have to understand that it really comes down to what we put into it.
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be too complicated, even though, yeah, sure, designing it and running it requires a lot of technical expertise.
And
So,
and I loved how you were saying, Tim, at first that, hey, one of the things you need to recognize is even if you have AI create a plan, you got to check it because it will, they call it hallucinate, right? And that's not a reference to the 60s, right? But it's something that, you can put something in, and it's interesting the way AI has been trained, right? The way it was rewarded as it was trained, the system itself, it was always rewarded to give a confident answer, right? That was the way it was trained, and so it follows that same pattern even now as we're using it. Now they are getting better, right? So ChatGPT 5, the latest version from OpenAI, much better at not hallucinating, right? Because they've been able to categorically see that it's dropped, 80% of the hallucinations can be eliminated. So it's answering more correctly. And you can set some things inside it. So it will tell you just how confident it is, right? And it will tell you if it doesn't know, it doesn't know. And
It's
that can
honest.
be a real benefit.
Well, a humble AI bot. That would
There
be
you go.
something. Perfect. All right. Well, we'll go to my next question. What are some practical ways AI is being used for personal financial management? Let's go right to it.
Sure. Um, I think one of the things that you'll find is, I think you can think of it in three different terms: detect, draft, and nudge, right? So in the detect piece, if we're able to feed into the AI, and there are tools out there, even software budgeting tools, right? You can put in your budget or what you're spending. I'm going to use an example just in a little bit to talk about how I've used it. That makes it really simple. But it can watch what you're spending. It can watch the income coming in, and it can then detect patterns that you may not on a regular day-to-day basis pick up on, right? A great example is this. Over time, sometimes we will collect what I'll call subscriptions, right? Subscriptions either to used to be magazines, but now it's to streaming services or to other kinds of activities or things, websites or the like, and we could be paying for those, and we may have forgotten all about them, but they're still getting those payments from us on a regular basis, and it's that kind of thing that AI can detect that, and it can list out, hey, here's all the different subscriptions that you have, and you'll be going, oh my goodness, I'd forgotten all about this one. And then you can have it gets to the point where you can even have it go and cancel it for you. But certainly you can go and get the cancellations done and be able to save yourself another $50-$100 a month that maybe you didn't know that was going out the door. So that's an
I
example of that.
actually I did that once. It was offered in an email. I thought, that's worth doing, and I did find one or two to. I was like, okay, I canceled them. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's amazing, right? So, and it'll even help you cancel it. So,
Yeah.
would would I need to worry about my job at some point as a personal financial planner?
Here's how I would put it, right? The 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 AI is really good at helping you with being able to detect these patterns, maybe even draft some plans and things, but also be able to nudge you on what you could do a little bit better and help you make some better choices. But it's never going to replace your financial plan or your advisor. But what it can do is it can help you stick to both, right? The advice that you're getting, it can help you stick to your plan in a much more efficient way than you could perhaps all by yourself. So I think that can be very helpful. I'll give you one example that I've used recently. As I was saying, okay, how am I doing financially from how my budget's perspective being, and instead of going in and entering every single transaction from my credit cards and bills and all that stuff, I was able to pull up the PDFs from my bank statement, my credit cards, other activities, put them into a great tool, Google Gemini's NotebookLM, put them all in there, and then it becomes so instantly. What I've done is I've loaded it up so that it now becomes like a financial expert on the life of David Preston, and I can ask all sorts of questions about it and get good solid advice, not only from an AI perspective of the intelligence of a computer, but also specifically what's going on inside those financial statements and what's going on, so that I can see those patterns more clearly. So it can be very helpful that way.
Hey, Tim, we will never do without you or Libby.
There you
And
go.
Libby, okay? Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. And I want to ask David some questions, but yeah, you're hitting my experience, which is I'll describe it later on. But thanks, David. I just
Yeah.
want you to know,
Thanks.
Tim and Libby, you're safe. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I'll shut
there
up.
you go.
All right, I won't
Nice,
sweat bullets yet. So,
nice.
but I will say that AI is definitely already enhancing our work in a way that it makes us more
Exactly.
productive, more effective, more accurate in helping
So
and
let
serving our
Yeah, and
clients.
maybe Tim, we can jump right into that, for instance. So the way I like to think about, because we talk about, oh my goodness, robots are going to replace humans, right? Robots are going to replace humans. I like to turn that right on its head, and I like to say, actually, AI is going to take the robot out of the human, right? Take all of that drudgery, all of that mechanical work, all the stuff that we have to, all the stuff that we drudgeringly do, like put all of our expenses in and all. It can take all that stuff out of our life. It can do that handily, under our supervision, absolutely. But it can do that handily, and then allow us to do more with that can be enriching and can expand our activities and make us more productive. And that's really what I like to think of it as.
That's excellent. Thank you. All right. So, how is AI helping with fraud detection, security, cybersecurity?
Yeah.
Some people worry that it's going to make it worse, because everything's automated to hack. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Sure. So this is kind of an unsung hero area for AI per se. You think about the fact that when you swipe your credit card at the local grocery store, the Safeway at Cave Creek, right? And it knows that you're in this general area based on your pattern of spend. Again, there's that detect, that pattern recognition, right? If all of a sudden something happens in Miami, Florida, where somebody also under your identification is also buying a large screen television, right? It can shut it down immediately, right? So that it helps with that fraud because it's got the AI underbelly that is able to see and spot those and recognize those patterns. Where before, years ago, that would not have been a thing. We would have had recognize, oh, well, did the signature look the same and all that stuff, right? It was very much a manual thing. But now, instantaneously, we can have those activities taken from for us and keep us protected. Now, that's not to say. So let's be really clear. In some ways, AI is a two-edged sword. So the fraudsters are also getting smarter, right? They're utilizing AI as well. So when you're getting emails, right, and you're looking at your emails or your messages, if there's a doubt, don't click, right? Find the more official channel to go check, right? And it won't be long when perhaps you may be getting a phone call that you think is a wonderful young person right out of college, but it's actually a voice AI. And so you want to be careful that if there is a sense of urgency or emotional appeal to you, and you didn't solicit that phone call, you just hang up, right? That don't mess with that. Hang up. If you're interested in that product, whatever, call the official term, but you'll want to be careful on that. Those are some things that would be helpful in AI safety as you go forward.
Okay, so certainly can help us or detect fraud before we even see it. We've all experienced that, I think, with credit cards and whatnot, but there's still important safety practices. And we've some of my clients here who attended my cybersecurity course in the past may remember that. In
Yeah,
fact, we still offer that book for anybody who would like to brush up on their cybersecurity. Thank
that's
you.
great.
Okay, so kind of back in the financial direction, can AI help find better deals on insurance or say identify missed tax deductions?
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So many of us have used, Google. We've probably been using Google for many, many years to ask just random questions. But now, as we get more sophisticated with AI, this is a use case that is just tailor made to our current family of AI models that are out there today. So Chat GPT, Google Gemini, Claude 4.0. These ones, they specialize in this. And I'm going to give you an example from ChatGPT 5, where it has what they call a deep think mode, right? So you can go in and do a deep research mode. So if you wanted to say, hey, look, I'm interested in house insurance. This comparison where it can go out, use the internet, and look at various providers of services in your specific location, right, very close to you, that you can talk to and have high reputations. You can set some of these parameters up front. It can do this amazing analysis where it looks at 3 or 5 of these different parties, and can then rank them based on various criteria. And you're like saying, well, I wouldn't even know how to rank them. Great. AI's got you covered. You would just tell it, hey, I'm interested in home insurance, and I'm not even sure what I should be comparing. But if you could give me some suggestions, right? And it'll write it up. Sure, let's compare it on this, and these criteria. And here are some things that I need from you, the user, to get me started. It'll ask you some questions. You put those in, and great, it's off to the races, right? So it's going to give you this nice, you can tell it, hey, in this format, I want this nice little table I can read. And it'll just give you supplier A, supplier B, supplier C, and then even say, well, which one would you recommend? You don't have to go with it, but it can analyze all that data, be able to tell you, here's why, here's who I would recommend and why. If you like it, you go with it, right? So it has this capability with these deeper research, and certainly when you're looking for a big ticket item that you want to purchase or something you want to investigate, that is a brilliant use case for using one of these AI models to help you with.
Excellent. Okay, so it can actually help us save money. It doesn't pressure us to do anything, and you can continue to refine.
Yep.
Let's talk about, and before I move on, just a reminder, of course, when you get into financial advice, check with that professional. Be careful also, sometimes the way you ask a question can influence the accuracy of the answer. And so you want to make sure you're asking the right questions the right way. And a professional can certainly help you with that. But I've seen it in a number of instances when I was brushing up on something that I already knew about, but I just wanted to double check. It has given me the wrong answer because I didn't ask the right question and I had to refine it a bit. Sometimes that's called prompt engineering. It's something we can all get better at, but it's very forgiving and flexible, I understand.
Yeah. And
It'll
and
work
there is a whole section in my book about prompt engineering. I would say though that the thing you want to keep in mind, especially as we get better and better models that come in with more ability to interact with folks. First of all, think of it as like having a conversation, right? It's not just a one-sided thing where you put it in and then get your answer back and then you're done. Think of working with AI as an ongoing conversation, meaning like if you were to ask a young assistant at a store and they brought you back the wrong thing, you don't just walk out of the store, right? You say, oh, you're going to maybe tweak the answer a little bit. Hey, that's not what I was looking for. I'm looking for something that's more in this shade of color or something to that effect. And that will help prompt the AI to just continue on with its research and be able to get you more of what it is that you want. So think of it as an ongoing conversation that you can be able to guide the AI into what it is that you're looking for. If it doesn't give you the first thing, the first thing that you're looking for. The second point that I would share is that oftentimes with this prompt engineering that Tim's talking about, we can actually have the AI help us with the prompt we want to put. I've often done this, right? So I will say, hey, I'm thinking about this particular thing that I want to research or whatnot. I don't have a lot of understanding about this. Can you help me put together a great prompt or a world-class prompt, or take on the role of an expert in this area? What basically you're giving it a role to play, and I want you to be able to tell me more about this and write a prompt as if you were an expert in this area. It'll write the prompt, and then I tell it, great, execute the prompt, right? And then it will do it. And it's not that you have to know all the different secrets to engineering as if you're going to get it wrong. doesn't work. It doesn't have to work that way. You can play with it and become more familiar with it. Um, I had a weekend away with my wife and some other family friends, and we were and some of the other couples that were with us, they came back to me afterwards and I said, I learned a lot from you this weekend because I saw how you were interacting with AI just by being a conversation, just talking to it as if you were talking to an assistant or a friend, and getting information from it, and that it wasn't some scary thing that you had to have training to use. It was just a conversation, and I think that once you get over that hurdle, it can really help your acclimation to it.
Well, that's a good segue. Another question I have is just what are some easy to adopt AI tools for non-tech savvy people? Maybe they know how to get on the internet.
Sure.
Google comes to mind, but maybe
Yeah.
we can look at an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, let's do that. So Tim, if you want to share your screen and show us Google, I think this is a
Sure.
great example of this where you can just jump right into AI in a very easy way because some of these tools are now using AI inside themselves, if so to speak. So here we have Google, right? And so Tim's gonna do a prompt. So Tim, write in rainfall in the Amazon forest, right? It's a very simple query. But what I
Yeah.
want to show you is that you typically, so click on the all, because that's typically what they would see. Typically in the all, there we go. So when you first get into this is the screen you would see if you typed this query in, rainfall in the Amazon forest. You'd kind of sense that, get a familiar, oh yeah, this is kind of the way it would look. But you'll notice now Google Gemini has got this AI mode off to the left. All you have to do, you click on that, and then the AI engine behind Google is going to give you a much deeper answer. And it's not going to have the sponsored ads and all the other things that come with it. Sometimes it's going to be very concrete to what you're looking for. And then you're going to see that down at the bottom, right, you can then start asking it other questions, right? And basically you're already into the AI mode. Sometimes it'll even have at the bottom, it'll have, deep analysis if you want to go down deeper. And so as we were playing with this, Tim was actually thinking about going into, how would I get into a rainforest cruise, right? And asking that question. And so it immediately started bringing in some additional things. So Libby, pack your bags. I think you're going to be going for a few days. But
Libby
anyway,
and I have talked about this trip before.
nice, nice. Uh, but anyway, so this is a great opportunity, and again, it's a very natural, easy way for you to start, dipping your toes into the AI function because now, we've used Google many times, and so now it's a matter of okay, so now I can, start asking questions about it. Now he's having a conversation, right? Do I need mosquito repellent? And it talks about this and gives you some best practices to go on. So this is a
That's
really
fun.
good way to get into AI. Again, this is the Google platform, so this would be Google Gemini, which is behind this, working it. And when you use any Microsoft product, if you were to do Microsoft Explorer instead of Google Gemini, you'd be using something like I think they use Chat GPT and as their background, right? Very similar look and feel, and you'll get a good chance, a good shot for that.
Well,
So
thanks. And
great
I thought I'd
example,
point
right?
out there are multiple ways to get to Gemini. You can use the little menu in the upper right, and there it is. And click on that, and it just takes you to a similar screen, but you just start out at the bottom and type in your question.
Yeah. Now, what's really interesting? So if any of you guys have some old black and white photos and other things like that you'd like to restore or put into like Gemini Flash 2.5, which he's got listed here. This is the model he's got here. It just came out with this amazing tool for photos called, well, they almost call it Nano Banana because that was the little test name that they used as they were trying to keep it anonymous. But and so if he clicks on the tools button down there, you're going to see that it'll show you, and they'll have a little banana for create images because it's kind of stuck with it now. But
Huh.
but the point is these tools have become so so useful with a lot of different aspects. So this one is particular, the neat photo restoration, and there's lots of things you can do there. And they have different ways of like you can see that they have guided learning. So they'll you take a topic, click on guided learning, and it will take you through a different kind of mode to go with. Anyway, some really good stuff.
So much to do, so little time. So you can have a lot of fun with this, right?
Yeah. Oh, we've blown through our 20 minutes, Tim.
Well, let me see if I can wrap this up pretty well. How about what's one hopeful takeaway about AI's future?
Yeah. So the thing I would like to think about this is besides the fact that AI can take the robot out of humans and allow us to do more with our time, make more connections, make more enhance our lives. The other thing I like to think about is that and it's often said in a way in AI circles that this is absolutely this is the worst it's ever going to be. Like it's only going to get better from here. It's only going to get more integrated. It'll be where you can be more intuitive and allow you to do more and more with the things that you want to do. So I'm very excited about what's going on there. I think the key takeaway I would say is that AI is not meant to replace our thinking and our intelligence, but it's to enhance it, make it so that we can concentrate on the more creative aspects that we want to do, take away the drudgery, and make those connections that are certainly so real for us.
Perfect, David. I have actually one other quick question, maybe two. Did you use AI to write your book?
Oh, that's a great question. And I've had it many times. So AI is not at the level where it can actually just, you put in a prompt, push a button, and it can just print out a 50,000 word document, right? I wish it was, but it doesn't like that. So what I was able to do though, it does very much help me take my thoughts, my words, and what I was able to do is, for instance, use like, here's a technical example. How could I explain this to a beginner, right? And it allows me to have a better way of saying things. So I think that was one of the key uses that I used it for, as well as doing some of the deeper research. Definitely was very good at that. Yeah. So again, it's kind of appropriate that it does the same things that I was teaching, as well as that it will enhance and improve our productivity, but it doesn't replace us.
Right. Excellent. Okay, well then I have one more personal question for you. At Gateway Financial Partners, we're all about planning for the future. So name one thing you hope to live to experience.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. I would love to do I would love to go to Africa and do a safari. I want to do that so bad. And not with guns, but with with photos. Like I would just love to take pictures and to see that wildlife experience. My wife and I have had a little bit of taste of travel, and we love it. I can't wait to retire so I can do more. I think it'll be great.
I love it. And of course, you have all the tools to help plan that trip. So
Exactly.
you know where to go. Well, let's turn it over to any questions we may have. Libby, do we have any at this point?
Sorry, I didn't do my job. I was listening.
Okay, so interesting. Yeah, we're all intrigued.
So
No, we don't.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. And then
In 2027, there's supposed to be AI driving 18-wheelers. And they're going through the testing process now. And I'm just wondering if, how you see that this is going to be foolproof.
Right. Indeed. And by the way, right, I was just dropping off my kids as they were doing some traveling to the airport yesterday, and I must have saw 8 or 10 Waymos, right, which are these AI driven cars, right? So there, it's going to have to be a gradual introduction of them, because you're going to have to do so much I'd say rigorous testing to make sure that it's safe. Otherwise, it's a non-starter, right? So that there's no doubt that there will be some of that activity that'll happen eventually. I think that it probably may take longer than they anticipate, because they will have to work through some of these challenges that they have. But I think that eventually there may be some of that going on. But there are, I think the other benefits to that, though, is as they continue on with that trajectory of driving with AI around, that it can also mean that the cars themselves are communicating with each other and being able to be clear on who's where and what they're doing. I'll use an example, and it has to do with my travel into India. So if you've ever been to India, the way they drive in India is they're using their horns constantly. Right? They're constantly using their horns. And in the US, we use our horns when we're mad, right? Or when we want to get people's attention to say, hey, you got to get started. The lights turn green, right? But what they do is they use their horn because they just swarm everywhere. And I think Carol is got a smile on his face. He probably understands what that's all about. But they swarm everywhere. And if you can't hear where other people are, you're going to run them over, right? And so it might be a similar situation where we see, Dawn, that eventually it gets to the point where you've got enough of these cars, not all of the cars, but some of the cars are going to have a knowledge of understanding of where everybody is, and it will actually make the roads safer at that point. And it'll have to get to a point of critical mass, right, to make that happen. But they say it's going to be in 27. I would say it's probably going to be, probably 18 months after that, maybe even more. But they'll eventually get to the point where it will perfect that. I mean, who would have thought that, that computers would fly airplanes full of people, right, from point A to point B? Yes, they've got the pilots at the tail ends, but I think you're going to see some of that technology continue.
Well, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ed.
David, I've already got your book. I just got it. So my experience is, starting with, I'm not going to recount my career, but machine learning, and then I programmed a bunch of I would call it scientific work,
Nice.
learned a few languages, and I'm one of the things I'm going to talk. I've run a few programs, started a few programs. One was automated language translation for the Department of Defense, and I'll get back to that. And then work for a Silicon Valley company was my last job, where we did a lot of cloud computing and the like. So I have to say, I really liked your presentation, and it sort of validated what I thought about AI. And so I'm going to go. Sorry, Tim, I'm going to take a little time, because I don't often get a chance like this to talk to experts like this. But and I agree that AI is not intelligence. The way humans process things is different from machines. Okay,
absolutely.
But I like your term mimicking. I always remember the Turing test, right? Behind a wall, do you think you're talking to a human or a machine? And we're getting to the point where we think we're talking to a human, okay, in some cases. Yeah, and you already showed me some good ways of using Google to enhance my Google experience and to interact. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
I like your point, and I have two computer software developers in the family now, and they've got a fair experience with AI. Both of them say that, just as you said, the AI at present requires some very specific directions.
Yep.
And you have to get good at that, and you got to give it specificity, and then you got to check your results.
Yeah.
I liked your point about hallucination. I was wondering about that, and that the machines are getting better. You know, I understand that they only get as good as the data you put in. Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you put in all kinds of, you know, there have been some embarrassing things I've read about on the internet and on the chat groups and the like, and how the machines pick that up. So anyway, so I thought that was really interesting. I mean, basically, we're feeding and not let me go to my language translation. Language is one of the hardest things that we do, but we take it for granted. Okay,
Indeed.
humans, they'll and I got involved. The DoD was trying to they were trying to find a way where they could do, you know, speech to speech, and mostly speech to speech is what they were looking for. Text to text is nice too, but they wanted speech to speech, especially in countries where there's no written language. Okay, that is hard. That is really hard. And so at the time I got the program started, Google was starting the Translate.
Yeah.
And I do think that's a little bit of something that sort of got us into AI, and they were feeding. There are two ways to do translation. One is statistical, the other is rule based, and they each, at the time anyway, and this was 20 years ago, had their own issues. And so the statistical, you know, what you're doing is the machine is hearing a few words and then deciding, okay, statistically, the next word
is going to be.
Yeah. And so they would come up with a little bit of odd things. And it was interesting. The rule base, I actually talked to some of the companies. And so, you know, over quite a few decades, they had developed rule based things for Western European languages. Here's the issue: trying to get anything that's good, and I'm sure it's the same thing with AI. You have to feed it a lot of what I would call it good data. Then the machines will use that. Anyway, so I found your comments dead on, and I was interested in seeing where what the latest is.
So just another point for you, Ed. So Google has just come up with their latest version for Google Translate. You can set your phone on a table across from somebody, and it will act. You can speak in your language, and it will tell them what it is in there, and it's got that now. It's quite unique the way they've done that.
Quite fluid now.
I have that app on my phone. I've never used it, but you're right. I mean, it's typically for specific languages. It's not for all languages. I'm guessing. But where they've got lots of data. So no, you're absolutely right. Now both of my one is my daughter, and the other is a fiance of a niece to do the computer software. And one of them is trying to do like AI stuff for agriculture. And one of the interesting things he said, you know, I never thought that the AI would get to this point, but it's producing art now. I mean, it's doing, and I've actually tried to use it just to try it out, to create some routines, software development. They're not bad. They're not bad. So now I want to talk about logistics because I'm a former military officer, and logistics are really important. The thing that concerns me, AI is awesome, but it also consumes lots of power.
True.
And so that will, I suspect that will be a limiting factor. And the other limiting factor is we're sort of in a transition period, which I will not get into, but we're sort of, our globalization is falling apart, and like chip development, I understand, takes a huge amount of different companies that put it all together, and getting chips to the size that we want for like, and this goes to Don's point, for driving and the like, we haven't quite got there yet. You know, and everything I'm hearing is there are limitations as to how much we can produce. And Don, you asked a really good question, and so I was just reading an article. One of the things that will probably happen sooner rather than later, David, with your point about testing, is platooning of trucks, where you have a person, or and they might use AI to help them, but it'll still be a person in the lead truck, and the other following trucks will follow within a reasonable distance. And so again, it's like you say, David,
It's
we start
augmenting.
to yeah, we adopt it slowly until
Yeah.
it gets good. That's what I had heard. The other thing I'm hearing, and I don't know if you could talk to it, but I'm hearing that the AI companies have still not monetized everything. You know, there's some that are using. Do you can you shed a little light on that, David?
Yeah. So what I do know is that some of the biggest AI companies at the moment, you know, OpenAI, for instance, they're they're hemorrhaging money at the
Okay.
bottom line, right? They $100 billion, more than I can even imagine, right? Is what
Oh, wow.
they're currently at. Now, again, Facebook, Amazon, some of these other big ones that are now making lots of money, they had similar trajectories, and you know, there's no shortage of people lining up to, you know, hand them money to continue. But I think you will continue to see a monetization. They're going to have to find some ways of creating better revenue streams in order to fulfill what they have to. They're going to have to be able to make their costs more efficient and more effective, and then hit the top line as well. So it's got to be a balancing act at some point. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I did not know they were losing that much money.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I see the advantage, you know, design. What you said about the what would you say? They take the sort of the computing side out of us, and so
Yeah.
we can do the thinking. I think that is huge for us. I mean,
Yeah.
it has potential. Look, I've been reading about design. You know, some design, some really complex systems, and AI can really help you there. So in some areas, like and like you mentioned, finance.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we'll never replace Tim and Libby, but
Yeah.
they will become more productive with
Exactly.
time. Yeah, and so in a time in which we're, again, I don't want to get into it, but changes to our structure, and we're sort of have a population pyramid that's actually not too bad compared to most people in the world, but we don't have as many young people. Now you have machines that can complement humans, and that'll help us if we allow it. Can help
It'll
us
help us
tremendously.
get through the pinch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, David, I'm going to shut up here. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
am really anxious to read your book. Like I said, I've already got it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ed.
May
And we'll
I
look
ask one
forward to
last
get that.
question, Tim?
Yes.
David?
Yeah, sure.
My older grandson is a freshman in college, and his academic major is going to be in business and communications.
Mm-hmm.
And as a freshman, there'll be a lot of AI stuff, and I realize it's all going to, just from the discussions this afternoon, it's going to be very interdisciplinary. What kinds of courses should he look for to help him
Yeah.
along?
There's no doubt that the universities are probably already, you know, bending their curriculum towards an AI focus. So he'll get some of that automatically, but I would encourage him to dive in with both feet on learning how to use AI for communications, right? Because that is a huge area where it does really well on communications, and be able to learn how to even create process flows. So think about it this way: we used to, like, Ed would have to do coding, right? Some of his stuff, he learned all these languages. but so you would want to, he can be able to learn how to, without a lot of coding experience, build automation workflows. So basically there are tools that you can go and you can pick actions, basically, right? There's this action and you hook it to this action. And I'm talking about actions that a computer takes, right? So they just go through and basically, if he's a communications major, let's just imagine that his first job out of college is that he's going to work and he has to take current events for his company and be able to put them into a really good format for the executives to digest, right? Or something to that effect. And he can be building those automated workflows to take the internet information, package it up just the way this company likes it, and then sends it out. Like, he'll want to be really good at that kind of thing. That will give him the edge where others who aren't versed in AI, they just won't make the cut.
Oh, yeah, that's always have the half-hour lecture and the 11-second elevator speech.
Exactly. You got it.
Can I, I'm sorry to jump in, David.
That's
but
fine. Thank you.
Don, I wanted to actually talk to something you said. I have a PhD in mechanical engineering. Okay. And so, when I went to school in the 80s and the like, I learned the mathematics, a lot of theoretical stuff. Okay. Now I have nephews that are engineers. Their world has changed. They might touch a little bit, and I've talked to recent graduates from my undergraduate school also who are into mathematics, degree, graduate degrees and the like. Now, the emphasis rightly is on the tools. So they get a little bit of the theory, but it's really the use of the tools that's important. The applications that's important. And so Don, anything that he can use, I'm with David here, big time. Anything that he can use to use AI in whatever course he does, whichever he does is really useful. And like David says, the more he experiences the tools, the more powerful he will become to the companies. I have a daughter who's a developer also, and she's using AI, and same thing. I tell her, keep using the AI and getting familiar with it. And she's got where I learned about the specificity is from her. She was talking about, and that's what you were saying, that you have to get very specific with these systems, at least these days. But again, Don, sorry to jump in, but the more he uses it for every course, whether the professor shows him how to, or he can actually go into and start to research, the better off he'll be. And
I appreciate that advice, because I'll pass it on to him. Like I say, he's a freshman, and that's a good time to learn.
Don,
yes.
Don, here's another note that he may already be familiar with it, but NotebookLM is a powerful tool. It's by Google Gemini. NotebookLM, powerful tool for students. They can put
and it's Gemini.
It's Google Gemini puts it out, but NotebookLM is the tool. He may already be familiar with it, but it is a powerful engine, because he can put his syllabus, he can put the coursework, all of the stuff inside NotebookLM, and then have just a ready-made little AI engine that he can ask any questions about for that particular topic. And he can have one for each class, right, that he can utilize. Can be a huge help for him.
I appreciate all this advice, and I'll pass it along to him.
Sure, you got it.
Okay, thanks so much, everybody, for your thoughts. Let me go switch back to this Amazon screen here for those that may be interested in obtaining their own copy of AI Fundamentals. It's available in every format, hardcover, paperback, as well as audiobook, narrated by David himself. It's
You can
very
hear
good.
my melodious voice. Yep, exactly.
Yes, very good. Kindle ebook, if you prefer that approach, all affordable. So we'll include a link in our follow-up survey, as always, to make that easy to go right to this page if you'd like to buy a copy or send it to somebody to buy. And we'll also, of course, have our survey to provide any feedback and how we can make this better, as well as to request a consultation with me or on any other topics. And so, also, if you want to email David any questions, you can reach at david@intelliversepress.com. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yep, you got
David
it.
at intelliversepress.com. No punctuation included. So we'll include that also in the follow-up email. And other thought here is watch for our next invitation this in October. It will be with Alex Hunt. She's an exceptional loan officer who will talk about how to make financing and refinancing a home purchase a smooth and even positive experience. So you can pencil that into your calendars for October 15th at 3 p.m. Arizona time. So with that, thanks again, David. Thanks everybody for
Thank you,
attending and
Tim. It's
making
been
this a
a
great learning
pleasure
experience.
talking to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David, and it